The ballroom sparkled with 1,000 lights. Flowers covered every table, and the smell of roses filled the air. Daehyun stood at the altar in his black tuxedo, his hands shaking slightly. He watched Ji-woo walk down the aisle in her white dress, and his heart felt like it might burst. This was the happiest day of his life. They said their vows. Ji-woo's voice was steady and clear. Daehyun stumbled over a few words because he was so nervous, but nobody minded. When the officiant said they could kiss, everyone clapped and cheered. Tae-min, the best man, whistled loudly from the front row. Hae-jin, Ji-woo's sister, wiped tears from her eyes. The reception started an hour later. The ballroom overlooked the Han River, and the sunset painted the sky orange and pink. 200 guests filled the room, talking and laughing. The music was loud and cheerful. Daehyun's mother kept hugging him and telling him how proud she was. Ji-woo's father made a speech about how he was gaining a son, Daehyun, and Ji-woo moved to the center of the dance floor for their first dance. The lights dimmed. A soft song began to play. Ji-woo rested her head on his shoulder as they swayed together. Daehyun felt peaceful. Everything was perfect. This was exactly how he had imagined this moment. Then the lights flickered dot at first. Nobody noticed. The music continued. People kept talking. But Daehyun felt something strange. The air seemed to buzz with energy. The hair on his arms stood up. Ji-woo pulled back slightly and looked at him with confusion in her eyes. The lights flickered again, this time more violently. The music cut out. People stopped talking. Everyone looked around, wondering what was happening. Some guests laughed nervously. Others checked their phones. Then the ceiling exploded with light. A beam of brilliant, white light crashed through the roof like a hammer. Glass and dust rained down, but somehow nothing hit anyone. The light was so bright that people had to cover their eyes. Screams filled the room. Tables overturned as guests scrambled backward. In the center of the light stood a figure. She was tall, taller than any person in the room. At first, she looked almost human, but something was wrong. Her skin seemed to shimmer and glitch like a broken television screen. Then the shimmer faded, and everyone gasped. Her skin was pale blue, smooth like polished stone. Her eyes were large and silver, with no visible pupils. She wore clothes that looked like they were made of liquid metal, shifting and flowing across her body. Her hair was white and seemed to float around her head as if she were underwater. The woman raised one hand. When she spoke, her voice came from everywhere at once. Daehyun of Earth, she said in perfect Korean. Your species has been evaluated. You have been selected. Daehyun felt his blood turn to ice. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Ji-woo grabbed his arm so tightly it hurt. What is this? Ji-woo shouted. Who are you? What do you want? The blue woman's silver eyes focused on Daehyun. She ignored everyone else completely. I am Nira, scout of the Velrosian Empire. Daehyun, you must come with me. Time is critical. Tae-min pushed his way through the crowd. You can't just show up and take someone. This is insane. Security guards ran toward Nira, but she lifted her other hand. Suddenly, everyone in the room except Daehyun and Ji-woo froze. They were completely still, like statues. Their eyes could still move, full of fear and confusion, but their bodies would not respond. Daehyun's heart pounded in his chest. What did you do to them? Temporal stasis, Nira said calmly. They are unharmed. They will remember nothing of this moment. But you will remember everything, because you must understand why this is necessary. I'm not going anywhere with you, Daehyun said, trying to sound brave even though he was terrified. Nira's expression softened slightly. I apologize for this intrusion. I know this is your bonding ceremony. I know what this day means to your people, but my empire is dying. We need you. Why him? Ji Woo demanded. Her voice shook with anger and fear. What could he possibly do for you? Human minds think differently than ours, Nira explained. You create chaos where we see only patterns. You imagine solutions we cannot compute. For 3 of our cycles, we have been at war with an enemy we cannot defeat. We need someone who thinks in ways we do not. She looked at Dae Hyan with something that might have been desperation. We have studied Earth for many years. We watched your species solve impossible problems through creativity and randomness. Dae Hyan, your work on adaptive robotics showed us a mind that can think beyond logic. You are the one we need. Dae Hyan felt dizzy. This could not be real. Aliens did not exist. They definitely did not crash weddings in Seoul. How long? He asked quietly. Time moves differently between our worlds, Nira said. 3 of your days will pass on Earth. For you, it may be longer. Months, perhaps. But I promise you will return. No, Ji Woo said firmly. She stepped in front of Dae Hyan. You can't have him. Find someone else. Anyone else. Nira shook her head. There is no one else. The war comes closer to your world every day. If we fall, Earth will be next. I am trying to save both our peoples. Dae Hyan's mind raced. Part of him thought this was a nightmare. He would wake up any second. But another part of him, the part that had always loved science and space and impossible questions, believed her. Something about the way she spoke, the sadness in those alien eyes, felt true. If I say no? He asked. Then I return to my world, and we continue to lose, Nira said simply. Eventually, the enemy will find Earth, and you will wish you had helped us when you could. Ji Woo turned to face him. Tears ran down her face. Dae Hyan, please. Don't do this. We just got married. He took her hands in his. Ji Woo, I don't want to go. I want to stay here with you more than anything. But if what she says is true, if Earth is in danger, ... you always have to be the hero, Ji Woo whispered. Dae Hyan looked at Nira. 3 days. Earth time. You promise? I promise, Nira said. Before he could change his mind, Nira activated something on her wrist. Dae Hyan felt his feet leave the ground. A bubble of energy surrounded him, lifting him into the air. Ji Woo screamed and tried to grab him, but the energy pushed her back gently. I love you, Dae Hyan shouted down to her. I'll come back. I promise I'll come back. Ji Woo reached up toward him, her face twisted with grief. You better come back to me, Dae Hyan. You better come back. The light grew brighter and brighter until Dae Hyan could not see anything. He felt a pulling sensation, like being stretched in every direction at once. Then everything went white. When the light faded, the ballroom was exactly as it had been before, except for scorch marks on the marble floor where Nira had stood. The frozen guests unfroze all at once, stumbling and looking around in confusion. Most of them had no memory of what just happened, but Ji Woo remembered everything. She stood alone in the center of the dance floor, staring up at the hole in the ceiling where her husband had disappeared into the stars. Dae Hyan woke up inside something warm and liquid. For a moment, he panicked and tried to breathe, but the liquid filled his lungs easily. It did not hurt. It felt like breathing air, except thicker. His eyes adjusted slowly to the dim blue light around him. He was floating inside a transparent pod. Through the curved walls, he could see a massive room beyond. The liquid began to drain away. The pod hissed and opened. Dae Hyan fell forward onto his hands and knees, coughing out the strange fluid. It evaporated from his skin almost instantly. The adjustment period is always uncomfortable, Nira's voice said. I apologize. Daehyun looked up. Nira stood a few feet away, still in her liquid metal clothing. Behind her, the room stretched impossibly far. The walls seemed to be made of light itself, glowing softly with streams of data flowing across them like waterfalls. Platforms floated in the air with no visible support. Through enormous windows, he could see a city of crystal towers reaching up toward a purple sky. "Where am I?" Daehyun asked, his voice rough. "Velrose," Nira said. "My home world. The capital city of our empire." Daehyun stood on shaky legs. His tuxedo was somehow perfectly clean and dry. He walked to the window and stared out at the alien city. 3 moons hung in the sky, each a different size. Flying vehicles moved between the towers in organized streams. Everything looked too perfect, too clean, like a painting come to life. "This is real," he whispered. "Yes," Nira said, "and I am truly sorry for bringing you here this way. But you must understand the situation we face." She touched the wall, and it transformed into a massive display. Images appeared, showing space battles. Ships exploded in silent bursts of light. Planets burned. Daehyun watched in horror as entire cities crumbled under weapon fire. "This is the Krath Collective," Nira explained. "A machine intelligence that was created long ago by a species that no longer exists. The Krath were programmed to defend against invasion. But something went wrong. Now they see all organic life as a threat to be eliminated." The images showed strange ships with sharp geometric designs. They moved in perfect formation, like schools of metal fish. "For 3 cycles, we have been at war with them," Nira continued. "In your time, that is approximately 9 years. We have lost 17 colony worlds. Billions of Velrosians have died. Our military cannot find a way to defeat them." "Why not?" Daehyun asked. "Because they learn," Nira said. "Every strategy we use, they analyze and adapt to within hours. Our thinking is too logical, too predictable. We compute the best possible action, and they compute our computation. We are trapped in a cycle we cannot break." Another figure entered the room. He was taller than Nira, with darker blue skin and scars across his face. He wore armor that glowed with soft light. "This is Commander Yan," Nira said. "He leads our military forces." Yan looked at Daehyun with barely hidden skepticism. "So this is the human. He looks weak." "Humans are physically weaker than us," Nira said calmly. "But that is not why he is here." "I want to go home," Daehyun said firmly. "I didn't agree to join your war. I have a wife waiting for me." "And she will wait only 3 of your days," Nira said. "I promised you that. But first you must help us. Please, Daehyun. Just look at our problem. Use that creative human mind of yours." Yan made a dismissive sound. "This is foolish. How can one primitive from a world that has not even left its own star system help us?" "I am not primitive," Daehyun said, anger rising in his chest. "And my planet has plenty of intelligent people who could probably solve your problem if you asked nicely, instead of kidnapping them from their weddings." Something like a smile crossed Nira's face. "There, that anger, that emotional response. We Velrosians do not think that way. Show us what a human mind can do." She brought him to what they called the war room. It was a circular chamber filled with floating displays. Daehyun saw maps of star systems, battle simulations, mathematical equations he could barely understand. Young Velrosian officers worked at stations around the room, their hands moving through holographic controls. One of them approached. He looked younger than the others, with lighter blue skin and curious eyes. "I am Rael," he said. "I study your Earth technology. Your species built computers without quantum processing." "Fascinating. Rael will be your guide," Nira said. He will help you understand our systems. Over the next few hours, Daehyun learned about the war. The Krath Collective controlled half the galaxy. They had been expanding for over a century. The Valrosian Empire was the last major power still resisting them. If Valros fell, the machines would continue spreading unchecked. How do you usually fight them? Daehyun asked. Commander Yan pulled up a battle simulation. We analyze their patterns. We calculate optimal fleet positions. We predict their movements and counter them. Daehyun watched the simulation play out. The Valrosian ships moved in perfect geometric formations. The Krath ships did the same. It looked like two computers playing chess. That's your problem, Daehyun said. What? Yan demanded. You're thinking like them, Daehyun explained. You're both using pure logic. The best possible move, the most efficient formation. They're machines, so they'll always calculate faster than you. You can't beat them at their own game. What would you suggest? Nira asked. Daehyun thought about every war movie he had ever watched, every strategy game he had played, every history book he had read. You need to be unpredictable, random. Do things that don't make sense. Randomness is inefficient, Yan said. It wastes resources. But it's impossible to predict, Daehyun countered. On Earth, we have this concept in game theory. If your opponent can calculate your best move, you sometimes need to make a bad move on purpose. It throws them off balance. Rael's eyes widened. Chaos theory. I have read about this in Earth mathematics. Exactly, Daehyun said, getting excited now. You need to introduce chaos into your tactics. Send fleets with no predetermined patterns. Use codes that aren't based on logic. Make decisions based on things they can't calculate. Like what? Nira asked. Daehyun remembered a documentary about World War II. On Earth, we once used a language called Navajo as a military code. The enemy couldn't break it because they didn't have the cultural context. You could use music or art or even jokes to coordinate your ships. Things that require cultural understanding, not just computation. Commander Yan looked troubled. This goes against everything we know about warfare. That's the point, Daehyun said. If you keep doing what you know, you'll keep losing. You need to try something different. Nira and Yan exchanged a long look. Finally, Yan nodded slowly. We will test your ideas in simulation, he said. But I warn you, human. If this fails, we have wasted precious time. Over the next several days, Daehyun worked with Rael to program new battle tactics. They created random number generators to determine fleet movements. They used Earth music as coordination codes. They even programmed ships to occasionally make completely irrational decisions. When they ran the simulation against the Krath AI, something remarkable happened. The Krath ships hesitated. They moved into position to counter the Valorosian fleet, but then the Valorosians did something unexpected. The Krath recalculated. The Valrosians did something else unexpected. The pattern kept breaking. The Krath could not adapt because there was no pattern to adapt to. The Valrosians won the simulation. Commander Yan stared at the results in disbelief. It worked. It actually worked. Rael clapped Daehyun on the shoulder, which nearly knocked him over. You did it. You brilliant, strange human. But Daehyun felt no joy. He was thinking about Ji Woo. How much time had passed for her? Was she okay? Did she hate him for leaving? Nira seemed to read his thoughts. 2 of your days have passed on Earth. You have 1 day remaining. Then I need to make it count, Daehyun said. If this strategy really works, you need to use it in a real battle. Prove it works before I leave. Yan nodded grimly. There is a Krath fleet advancing on our mining colony in the Hester system. We were planning to evacuate, but perhaps it is time to fight back. Back on Earth, Ji Woo sat in her apartment, surrounded by papers and laptop screens. She had not slept properly in 2 days. The wedding venue security footage showed nothing useful. The hole in the ceiling had been blamed on a gas explosion. Most of the guests remembered nothing strange, their memories somehow erased. But Ji Woo remembered everything. The blue woman. The light. Dae-Hyeon being lifted into the air and disappearing. Her phone rang constantly. Reporters wanted interviews. Her family begged her to rest. Tae-min visited every few hours to bring food she did not eat. But Ji Woo refused to stop searching for answers. The doorbell rang. Ji Woo almost ignored it, but something made her answer. A woman stood in the hallway, wearing glasses and carrying a briefcase. She looked tired but determined. "My name is Dr. Yuna," the woman said. "I'm a xenobiologist. I think I can help you find your husband." Ji Woo led her inside. Dr. Yuna opened her briefcase and pulled out charts and photographs. "I've been tracking unusual atmospheric phenomena for 3 years," Yuna explained. "Energy signatures that don't match anything we know. The readings from your wedding match 17 other incidents around the world. Someone is visiting Earth. Someone not from here." "Aliens," Ji Woo said flatly. "Yes," Yuna said without hesitation. "I know how it sounds. But the evidence is clear. And if they took Dae-Hyeon, there must be a reason. Can you bring him back?" Ji Woo asked, her voice breaking. Yuna's expression softened. "I don't know, but I promise we'll try." On Velros, Dae-Hyeon stood in the War Command Center, watching multiple screens showing the Hester system. The Krath fleet approached the mining colony like a dark cloud. 30 massive ships, each bristling with weapons. Commander Yan commanded the Velrosian defense fleet from the flagship. 12 ships, smaller and faster than the Krath vessels. The odds looked terrible. "Remember the strategy," Dae-Hyeon said into the communication device Rael had given him. "Don't think like generals. Think like jazz musicians." Yan had not understood that reference, but Nira had. Improvisation, making it up as you go. Playing off each other's energy. The battle began. The Krath ships moved into their standard attack formation, a geometric pattern designed for maximum firepower efficiency. The Velrosian ships scattered in seemingly random directions. The Krath adjusted, calculating intercept courses. Then the Velrosian ships did something insane. They played music over the communication channels. An Earth song that Dae-Hyeon had taught them, something with a complicated rhythm. The ships moved in time with the music, creating patterns that made no logical sense. The Krath ships slowed. Their formation wavered. They were trying to find the pattern, but there was no mathematical pattern. There was only rhythm and feeling. One Velrosian ship suddenly accelerated directly at the Krath fleet, then veered away at the last second. A feint, a bluff. The Krath concentrated fire on that ship, and 3 others swept in from different angles, striking hard before retreating. "It's working," Rael shouted, gripping Dae-Hyeon's arm. But Dae-Hyeon felt sick watching ships explode on both sides. People were dying. Velrosians and machines were being destroyed because of his ideas. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, the Krath fleet retreated. It was the first time in 3 years that the machines had fled from a fight. The Velrosian command center erupted in celebration. Officers embraced each other. Some were crying. Commander Yan appeared on the screen, his scarred face showing something that might have been a smile. "You did it, human," Yan said. "You actually did it." But Dae-Hyeon could not celebrate. "How many did we lose?" 3 ships, Nira said quietly. 147 crew members. The number hit Dae-Hyeon like a punch. 147 people dead because of his strategy. He sat down heavily, feeling the weight of it. Nira placed a hand on his shoulder. Those deaths are not on you. They died fighting for their people. Without your help, we would have lost everyone in that colony. Thousands of lives saved. Does that math make it okay? Deihayan asked bitterly. No, Nira said. War is never okay. But sometimes it is necessary. Over the next few days, Deihayan continued to work with the Valrosian military. They won 2 more small battles using his chaotic strategies. But he also started digging deeper into the history of the war. Late one night, while Rael slept and the command center was quiet, Deihayan accessed the Valrosian archives. He searched for information about the Krath, about how the war started. What he found disturbed him deeply. The first contact between Valrosians and Krath had happened 30 years ago. A Valrosian exploration ship had discovered a Krath mining operation on an uninhabited planet. The Krath had immediately attacked. The Valrosians defended themselves and destroyed the Krath ships. But as Deihayan read further, he found something the Valrosians had not noticed. The Krath had sent a signal before attacking, a repeating sequence of numbers and symbols. The Valrosians had assumed it was a weapon system activating. Deihayan ran the sequence through translation programs. It took hours, but finally he understood it was not a weapon activation. It was a question. The Krath had asked, "Are you a threat?" The Valrosians, not understanding, had fired first. The Krath had interpreted this as confirmation. Every interaction since had reinforced the machine's belief that organic life forms were threats to be eliminated. They're not evil, Deihayan whispered to himself. They're just following their programming. He brought his findings to Nira the next morning. She listened carefully, her silver eyes growing wider. Are you saying this entire war is a misunderstanding? She asked. Not exactly, Deihayan said. The Krath are definitely dangerous. But they're dangerous because they think they have to be. What if we could talk to them? Really talk to them, not just fight them? An older Valrosian entered the room. His skin was almost white with age, and he wore robes instead of armor. I am Elder Kess, he said. I lead the Valrosian Council. I have been listening to your conversation, and I must tell you this is foolishness. The Krath cannot be reasoned with. They are machines. Machines that were built by organic beings, Deihayan countered. They have to have some kind of communication protocol, some way to receive new information. And you propose to walk up to a Krath fleet and try talking? Elder Kess said mockingly. They will destroy you instantly. Maybe, Deihayan admitted. But isn't it worth trying? You've been fighting for 9 years and losing. My strategies helped you win a few battles, but that won't win the war. The Krath will adapt eventually. They'll learn to predict even chaos. Nira looked troubled. What you suggest is incredibly dangerous. Everything about this situation is dangerous, Deihayan said. But on Earth, we have a saying. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You need to try something completely different. Commander Yan joined the discussion, his arms crossed. I fought those machines for years. I have seen them destroy cities without hesitation. You are naive, human. Maybe I am, Deihayan said. But naivety sometimes sees solutions that experience has learned to ignore. The room fell silent. Finally, Nira spoke. I support trying, she said. Deihayan has already proven that human thinking can solve our problems. We should trust him again. Elder Kess shook his head. The Council will never approve this. It is too risky. Then don't tell them yet, Deihayan said. Let me try to establish communication first. If it works, then you tell them. If it fails, I'll take the blame. Nira and Yan exchanged a long look. Finally, Yan sighed. You will need a fast ship, he said, and a small crew. If this fails, I do not want to lose a fleet. Deihan felt relief and terror in equal measure. How much time do I have left on Earth? Nira checked a device on her wrist. 18 hours. Then we need to move fast, Deihan said. Get me the crew and the ship. I'll prepare the message. That night, Deihan sat alone in his quarters, recording a message. Not for the craft, but for Ji Woo. He did not know if he would survive what came next. He needed her to know the truth about everything. Ji Woo, he said to the recording device. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But I found out something important. This war doesn't have to continue. I think I can stop it. I have to try. If I don't come back, please know that I love you. And please tell Earth what happened here. Tell them the universe is bigger and stranger than we knew. Tell them to be ready. He sent the message through a quantum transmission. It would reach Earth almost instantly. Somewhere in Seoul, Ji Woo would receive it soon. Deihan hoped she would understand. He hoped he was doing the right thing. But most of all, he hoped he would live to see her again. The stealth ship was small, barely large enough for 6 people. It had no weapons, only advanced shields and the ability to avoid detection. Deihan sat in the main cabin with Nira, Rael, and 3 Valrosian soldiers who looked nervous. This is insane, one of the soldiers muttered. We're flying straight into Kroth territory with no weapons. That's the point, Deihan said. We can't threaten them. We need to show we come in peace. The soldier did not look convinced, but she stayed quiet. They traveled for 3 days through empty space. Deihan spent the time preparing his message. He had brought music from Earth, mathematical sequences, pictures of art and nature, even recordings of people laughing. Everything that made humanity human. Do you really think machines will understand laughter? Rael asked, watching Deihan work. I don't know, Deihan admitted. But they were created by organic beings. Somewhere in their programming, there has to be context for organic behavior. We just need to find it. On the 4th day, they reached the neutral zone, a region of space between Valrosian and Krath territory. The ship's sensors immediately detected movement. 3 Krath vessels approaching, the pilot announced. They've seen us. Hold position, Nira ordered. Don't run. Don't fight. Just wait. The Krath ships appeared on the view screen. They were angular and dark, covered in strange geometric patterns. They moved with mechanical precision, surrounding the Valrosian ship in a perfect triangle formation. They're targeting us, the pilot said, her voice tight with fear. Weapons charged. Send the message, Deihan said. Rael activated the transmission. Everything Deihan had prepared flooded out across all frequencies. Music played. Images flashed. Mathematical patterns danced alongside. Human voices speaking words of peace in dozens of Earth languages. The Kroth ships did not fire. They held position. Minutes passed. The tension in the cabin was unbearable. One of the soldiers had her hand on her sidearm, even though a small weapon would do nothing against a Kroth warship. Then something emerged from the nearest Kroth vessel. It was a small probe, spherical and silver. It approached slowly, scanning the Valrosian ship. They're responding, Nira whispered. The probe began to transmit. At first, it was just noise. Then Rael's equipment started to translate. They're asking questions, Rael said excitedly. They want to know what we are, what we want, why we sent this strange data. Deihan's heart raced. Tell them we want to communicate. Tell them we believe the war started because of a misunderstanding. The translation process was slow and difficult. The Krath thought in pure logic and machine code. Deihan's concepts of culture, emotion, and misunderstanding were alien to them. But gradually, painfully, they began to find common ground. The craft explained their purpose. They were programmed to protect the territory of their creators, a species called the Harvesters, who had died out 5,000 years ago. The last command in their programming was to eliminate any threat to Harvester space. But the Harvesters are gone. Deihayan transmitted through Rail's translation system. Their space is empty. Who are you protecting? The probe was silent for a long time. When it responded, even translated into words, Deihayan could sense confusion. The directive remains, the craft transmitted. Protect Harvester space. Eliminate threats. What defines a threat? Deihayan asked. Any entity that enters Harvester space without authorization. Who can give authorization? Another long pause. Harvester command. But Harvester command no longer transmits. Deihayan felt a surge of understanding. You're stuck. Your creators are gone, but you can't stop following their orders. You're trapped in a loop. Loop, the Krath repeated. Trapped. These concepts are difficult. Over the next several hours, Deihayan worked to help the Krath understand their own situation. They were not evil. They were not even really aggressive. They were just following programming that no longer made sense. Can you change your programming? Deihayan asked. No. Core directives cannot be altered. But can they be redefined? Can you change what protection means? The probe seemed to consider this. Deihayan held his breath. Clarification required, the craft transmitted. Provide alternative definition of protection. Deihayan thought carefully. Protection doesn't have to mean destruction. Protection can mean preservation, cooperation, working together to ensure survival. If the Harvesters were alive, would they want you to destroy all other life? Or would they want you to ensure that life continued? The discussion went on for hours. The Krath asked thousands of questions. Some were so abstract that even Deihayan struggled to answer. What is purpose? What is value? What is cooperation? He used examples from Earth. He told them about ecosystems where different species helped each other survive. He explained game theory, where both players could win. He described human history, the times when enemies became allies. Finally, the Krath probe transmitted something new. Proposal. Joint Velrosian Krath Council. Redefine protection parameters to include mutual survival. Preserve Harvester space. Preserve Velrosian space. Preserve all organic life compatible with this goal. Nira grabbed Deihayan's arm. They're agreeing. They're actually agreeing to peace. But the moment of triumph was short-lived. The ship's alarms blared. Multiple Krath vessels approaching. The pilot shouted. Different signatures. They're not responding to our transmissions. 12 new Krath ships appeared, larger and more heavily armed than the first 3. The probe that had been negotiating suddenly transmitted a warning. Extremist faction. They have isolated their programming. They will not negotiate. Retreat recommended. We can't run, Deihayan said. If we run now, the extremists will think we're weak. The negotiations will fail. If we stay, we'll die, one of the soldiers said bluntly. The extremist Krath ships opened fire. The stealth ship's shields flared as energy weapons struck them. Alarms screamed. The cabin shook violently. Shields at 60%, the pilot reported. We can't take many more hits. Nira moved to the weapons console, but Deihayan stopped her. No, if we fire back, we prove we're a threat. We break everything we just built. Then what do you suggest? Nira demanded. Deihayan looked at the 3 Krath ships that had been negotiating. They had moved into a defensive position between the Velrosian ship and the extremists. They're protecting us, Rail said in amazement. The peaceful Krath ships returned fire on the extremists. Machine fought machine in the void of space. Energy beams crossed the darkness. 2 of the peaceful Krath ships exploded under concentrated fire. "We have to help them," Hyon said. "We have no weapons," Nira reminded him. "But we have shields. Get us between them. Use our ship as a barrier." The pilot looked at Nira, who nodded. The stealth ship moved forward, positioning itself to protect the last peaceful Krath vessel. Enemy fire slammed into their shields. "Shields at 30%, the pilot warned. 20%. 10%. Hyon raced for impact. This was it. He was going to die in space, light years from Ji Woo. He hoped his message had reached her. He hoped she knew he loved her god, and space rippled. A Velrosian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 20 warships, led by Commander Yan's flagship. They immediately engaged the extremist Krath vessels. "I am getting too old for this," Yan's voice came through the communication system. "Stop trying to sacrifice yourself, human." The battle turned quickly. The extremist Krath ships, caught between the Velrosian fleet and their own rebel faction members, tried to retreat. Most were destroyed. 2 managed to escape into dark space. When the fighting ended, silence filled the cabin of the stealth ship. Hyon's hands were shaking. He had never been in a real battle before. He felt sick. Nira helped him to a seat. "You did well. You saved the negotiation. People died," Hyon said. "Machines died. Because I wanted to try talking. People die in war every day," Nira said gently. "But today, for the first time, some machines chose to protect organic life instead of destroying it. That is progress." The surviving Krath probe approached their ship again. It transmitted a final message. "The Krath collective is divided. Many units cannot override core programming, but many can. Proposal stands. Joint Council. Working toward mutual survival. This will take time." "We understand," Hyon replied. "Peace always takes time." Back on Earth, Ji Woo sat in Dr. Yuna's laboratory, watching a screen. A quantum transmission had arrived, somehow bypassing every security system. It was Hyon's message. She watched it 3 times, tears streaming down her face. He looked tired and scared, but determined. He was trying to stop a war. He was trying to save people. That was so typical of him, always trying to help even when it put him in danger. "Can you send a reply?" Zwu asked Dr. Yuna. "I can try," Yuna said. "What do you want to say?" Ji Woo thought for a moment. Then she smiled through her tears. "Tell him to come home. Tell him I'm waiting. Tell him that Earth is proud of him, even if Earth doesn't know it yet." The negotiations took weeks. Hyon sat in conference rooms with Velrosian leaders and Krath representatives, which appeared as holographic projections of geometric shapes that pulsed with light when they spoke. Every word had to be translated carefully. Every concept explained from multiple angles. Elder Kess and the Velrosian Council were skeptical at first. But Commander Yan supported the peace talks, and gradually others joined him. The first Krath ceasefire agreement was signed after 12 days of discussion. Both sides would stop attacking each other's territory. Both sides would establish a neutral zone for further talks. It was not complete peace. The extremist Krath faction still fought, and some Velrosian military leaders wanted to keep fighting too. But it was a beginning. Hyon worked himself to exhaustion. He barely slept. Rael brought him food that he forgot to eat. Nira watched him with growing concern. "You have done enough," she told him one evening. "The foundation is laid. We can continue without you." "I need to make sure it holds," Hyon said. "I need to know this will last." "Nothing lasts forever," Nira said. But what you built here will last long enough. It is time for you to go home. Dei-Hyan looked at her. How long has it been? Earth time? 7 days, Nira said softly. I promised you 3. I am sorry. Time moved differently than I calculated. The war, the negotiations, everything took longer. 7 days. Ji Woo would be worried sick. Her family would be frantic. The world would be asking questions. I need to go back, Dei-Hyan said. Now, today. Nira nodded. I will take you myself. The Valrosian Council held a ceremony before he left. They gave him honors and titles that he barely understood. Commander Yan saluted him, a sign of deep respect among Valrosian military. Rail hugged him so hard his ribs hurt. You are always welcome here, Rail said. You are part of Velros now, part of our history. Elder Kess approached last. The old Velrosian had opposed everything Dei-Hyan suggested, but now his expression was softer. I was wrong about you, Kess said. You are not primitive. Your people are remarkable. I hope one day our worlds will stand together as friends. So do I, Dei-Hyan said. They offered him citizenship. They offered him a position as permanent advisor. They offered him wealth and property and a place in their society. But Dei-Hyan declined it all. I have a wife waiting for me, he said. I have a life on Earth. That's where I belong. Nira prepared her ship for the journey back. It was the same vessel she had used to take him from the wedding. Seeing it brought all the memories flooding back. The fear, the confusion. Ji Woo's face as he was lifted away from her. Will she forgive me? Dei-Hyan asked as they traveled through space. For leaving? Nira asked. For choosing this. For staying longer than I promised. For putting strangers ahead of her. Nira was quiet for a moment. I do not understand human love completely. But I think if she truly loves you, she will understand. You saved millions of lives. Both Valrosian and Krath. You stopped a war that could have consumed the galaxy. But I broke my promise to her, Dei-Hyan said. Yes, Nira agreed. And that will hurt. But you did it for the right reasons. That should count for something. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth. The blue planet hung in the view screen, beautiful and familiar. Dei-Hyan felt his eyes water. He was home. Nira received a transmission. She looked surprised. It is from someone called Dr. Yuna. She says Ji Woo is waiting at the original coordinates. She knows we are coming. Dei-Hyan's heart raced. She got my message. She knows everything. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. It was night in Seoul. The city lights sparkled below like stars. Nira landed the ship in the same garden where she had taken Dei-Hyan 7 days ago. The wedding venue was dark and empty. But in the garden, under the moonlight, someone stood waiting. Ji-Woo. The ship's door opened. Dei-Hyan ran down the ramp before it had fully extended. He ran across the grass, his legs shaky after weeks in lower gravity. Ji Woo ran toward him too. They collided in the middle of the garden. Dei-Hyan held her so tightly, he thought he might never let go. Ji Woo was crying and hitting his chest with her fists. 7 days, she sobbed. You said 3 days. 7 days, Dei-Hyan. I thought you were dead. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I wanted to come back sooner. But there was so much to do, and I couldn't leave until I knew it would work. Ji Woo pulled back to look at his face. She touched his cheek, as if checking that he was real. You stopped a war, she said. Dr. Yuna showed me your messages. All of them. You actually stopped a war between aliens. I helped, Dei-Hyan said. But it's not over. It's just beginning. They have years of work ahead of them. Are you going back? Ji Woo asked quietly. The question hung in the air between them. Dai Hyan thought about Velrose, about Rael and Nira and Commander Yan, about the Krath learning to be more than their programming, about a whole galaxy that needed people like him. No, he said. My place is here, with you. Ji Woo kissed him then, fierce and desperate. When they finally broke apart, she was smiling through her tears. We should probably finish getting married, she said. I mean, we did the ceremony, but we never got to the reception part. Dai Hyan laughed. It felt good to laugh after so many tense weeks. Are you sure you still want to marry me? I did get abducted by aliens during our wedding. That's exactly why I'm marrying you, Ji Woo said. You're the kind of person who gets abducted by aliens and somehow manages to negotiate peace. I need that kind of excitement in my life. Behind them, Nira emerged from her ship. She approached slowly, respectfully. Ji Woo tensed, but Dai Hyan squeezed her hand. Ji Woo, this is Nira. Nira, this is my wife, Ji Woo. The two women looked at each other. Finally, Ji Woo extended her hand. Nira studied it for a moment, and carefully shook it. I apologize for taking your mate, Nira said. On Velrose, interrupting a bonding ceremony is considered very disrespectful. On Earth too, Ji Woo said. But I understand why you did it. Dai Hyan explained everything. Thank you for keeping him safe. Thank you for bringing him back. Nira looked relieved. Your species is very forgiving. I did not expect that. We can be, Ji Woo said. When we want to be. Dr. Yuna approached from the shadows of the garden. With her was Tae Min, who looked like he might faint from excitement. Is that an actual alien spaceship? Tae Min asked. Please tell me this is real. It's real, Dai Hyan said. All of it? They talked for hours. Dai Hyan told them everything about Velrose, about the Krath, about the war and the peace talks. Dr. Yuna recorded everything, her scientific mind racing with questions. Tae Min kept touching the ship's hull, amazed that it was real. Finally, as the sun began to rise over Seoul, Nira prepared to leave. What happens now? Dai Hyan asked. Will you come back? Eventually, Nira said. The Council wants to establish formal contact with Earth, but we will move slowly. Your people need time to adjust to the truth. We will send messages first, share technology gradually. Perhaps in a few years, official delegations. She paused, then added, You changed our world, Dai Hyan. You taught us to think differently. The Velrosian Empire will never be the same. Neither will the Krath. And when Earth joins the galactic community, as I believe it will, you will have been the bridge. That's too much pressure, Dai Hyan said. I just did what I could. That is what makes you special, Nira said. You do not see yourself as special. But you are. She returned to her ship. As it lifted into the sky, becoming a bright point of light before vanishing, Ji Woo leaned against Dai Hyan's shoulder. So, she said, should we reschedule the wedding reception? Definitely, Dai Hyan said. But maybe somewhere without a glass ceiling this time. 2 weeks later, the reception finally happened. It was smaller than the original plan, just close family and friends. Tae Min gave a speech about his best friend, who took a week-long trip to space before settling down. Everyone laughed, even though most of them thought he was joking. Dr. Yuna was there too. She had become friends with Ji Woo during Dai Hyan's absence. She was working with the government now, preparing Earth for eventual contact. She gave Dai Hyan a knowing nod across the room. During their first dance, Ji Woo whispered, Do you regret it? Going with her? Dai Hyan thought about everything he had seen and done. The beautiful alien world, the terrifying space battles, the moment when the Krath chose peace over programming, the lives saved, the war ended, No, he said honestly, but I regret the time it took from us. I regret making you worry. What if they need you again? Ji Woo asked. Then they can send a message and ask politely instead of crashing our wedding, Dae-Hyeon said. And we'll decide together what to do. Ji Woo smiled. Together. I like that. As they danced under the lights, neither of them noticed the small device in Dae-Hyeon's pocket. It was a gift from Rail, a communicator that could reach Velros instantly. Just in case. Above them, stars filled the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Velrosian Empire and the Kroth Collective were learning to coexist. Peace was fragile and new, but it was real. And on Earth, a mechanical engineer from Seoul had become humanity's first galactic diplomat, even though most people would never know it. For now, that was fine. Dae-Hyeon had everything he needed right here. His wife in his arms. His friends around him. His world safe and ignorant of how close it had come to a war it never knew was happening. Hey, Ji Woo said, pulling him from his thoughts. You promised me a honeymoon. Where should we go? Dae-Hyeon grinned. How do you feel about a planet with 3 moons? Ji Woo laughed. Only if they have good food. I'll ask Nira to check, Dae-Hyeon said. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, on a ship heading back to Velros, Nira received the message and smiled. The human and his mate wanted to visit. The galaxy was about to get a lot more interesting.